Hello, and welcome to my presentation on 21st Century Skills Learning Theory Curriculum. I designed my curriculum for a middle school science class, but my ideas expand beyond just the regular middle school, but this is a calling for the inclusion and the focus of 21st century skills in all curriculums going forward. My name is Eric Pianachka, and I hope that you enjoy my presentation. First, let's identify what are 21st century skills. To remember them, think of the 4 C's of 21st century: collaboration, critical thinking, creativity, and communication. Collaboration, as we know, is when 2 or more people work together into solving problems. Critical thinking is the use of data, information, and knowledge and apply it to a specific situation, whether it is problem solving or analysis. Creativity is when something is created or solved or problem solving. And when we talk about creativity, it's the uniqueness that one has in solving problems. And finally, it's communication, which is the ability to effectively explain, inform, or deliver information to somebody else or something else. In addition to the 21st century learning theory, there are additional theories that this curriculum is based on. Those are cognitivism and constructivism. Now, cognitivism deals with how somebody learns, the actual process of absorbing information, storing it away, and recalling information. Cognitivism will be used thought-provoking questions, or in the science curriculum or the science world, natural phenomena, to kind of prime learners for learning. Constructivism supports that learning is not passive. This is not a spectator sport. Learning is occurs when students are actively engaged and involved in the lessons. In order to fulfill and meet and develop 21st century skills, students need to actually participate, practice, and use these skills. A nice way of ensuring that students are learning the material and learning the skills and developing skills is having them to be able to self-evaluate. So that's why cognitivism and constructivism also support a 21st century learning theory and 21st century skills curriculum. So the reason why 21st century skills are important is because 21st century skills are universal, it creates an equitable learning environment, and they are practical. Wherever you go, 21st century skills are needed. Just going down to the grocery store, trying to figure out what to play with friends, just anything that we see, students, people, anybody needs to be able to communicate effectively. They need to be able to critically think, they need to be creative, and they need to collaborate. It's universal, and as students progress through their academic and ultimately into their own careers, these skills are only going to be amplified as they move on, and the expectations that they will have these skills mastered or at least efficient in them. Additionally, 21st century skills as a focus will create an equitable learning environment. Currently, students struggle with barriers that are created when content is the only focus in the classroom. Reading levels can make it very challenging for students to absorb and ascertain information from science, such as using difficult vocabulary words like cellular respiration, photosynthesis, words that don't have an easy definition, or words that don't have a synonym that would make it easier for them to learn. So when the focus is also on skill development, all these students can develop the skills. Now, they will develop them at different rates. They will progress differently, which is fine. But when the focus is developing these skills, the students will win, and we are reducing barriers. And finally, 21st century skills are practical. We see all these skills being used in the real world, in real jobs, and creates an opportunity for authentic learning. As a science teacher, I contend with students asking me, when will I ever use this? Odds are, as I tell my middle school students, you're probably not. But the ability to critically think and communicate your ideas, you'll be doing that every day. So it creates a practical environment and kind of keeps those that may be disengaged in a particular subject, such as science, more involved and more engaged. So there are a couple elements of this 21st century lesson and curriculum. First off is the use of understanding by design. Using the 3 stages and working backwards, it creates a curriculum that is equitable, fair, and rigorous. By identifying the goals or through the standards, whether they're local standards or state standards, you're able to include, such as this curriculum, include key verbs to help with the 21st century. Many of the standards and goals include analyzing, producing, creating a lot higher order thinking because it's based in 21st century skills. Secondly, when we talk about the data collection, it's identifying how the students are going to demonstrate and what data is going to be important to analyze as students progress throughout this particular curriculum. And then finally, after identifying the data and the goals, it's then creating lessons to meet those standards. A lot of hands-on activities, a lot of work that will have them collaborating. And through 21st century skills, as long as these are the focus of the activities, students are going to be using content as a vessel to develop these skills. Now, we talk about those lessons specifically. We're going to be using Universal Design of Learning, or UDL. I like to call this the throw the kitchen sink at everything, at everybody, and see what sticks and what happens. Universal Design of Learning is that the idea that students are just going to benefit from having all these different types of modalities to learn from. Originally designed for architecture, something like a ramp for handicap access, everybody can use that ramp. It benefits everybody. That's what UDL is. So in these lessons, you're going to see that students will have the opportunity to pick and choose how they want to learn, how they want to obtain their information, while also being focused on developing those skills. Students are going to be working together consistently. Students are going to be asked to think critically, analyzing data, collecting data, and then also they have to effectively communicate that data. And finally, when we get to the assessments, that there needs to be a mixture of various assessments, both summative, informative, authentic, problem-based, and project-based learning. These mixture of assessments allow students to demonstrate in their preferred method or in their preference of demonstration what they've learned. Through teacher observations, educators can make sure that students are progressing with their skills as they're able to observe how students are working together. Through authentic learning, students are able to communicate their results and problem solve for today's problems as we prepare them to solve tomorrow's. There are many benefits to 21st century skills. First, it provides them with a high quality academic behaviors. This is simply put, they're able to create strong study skills, they're able to learn self-management, they become problem solvers, and they become innovators. They're able to become more accountable for their learning. If they have the skills and they're confident in their skills, they're going to be able to solve problems. They're able to solve their own problems. Because as we know, as the world changes, we all come across different types of setbacks, whether they're academic setbacks, career setbacks, or social setbacks. Students need to learn how to contend with these setbacks and also to overcome them. Critical thinking skills, collaboration, communication, and creativity will allow them to have the tools to overcome these setbacks. And finally, these skills also prep them to handle changes in technology and be able to become tech savvy as the world continues to rely more and more on technology. So formative assessments we're all familiar with. We know about exit slips, we know about short quizzes, observations. Now, they're all very important, but for a 21st century curriculum, it needs to be tailored to having students collaborate and be able to effectively communicate their ideas. So when you're creating an exit slip, you can have specifically content-based questions, but it's also important for them to identify what they've learned and questions that they have. Again, going back to effective communication, they need to be able to advocate for themselves. And you can only advocate for yourself if you can effectively communicate. One particular program I like to use is Padlet. It's like a parking lot type of activity, except done digitally. The educator can post a question to a Padlet, students can log on and post their ideas. But they're also able to collaborate and communicate and even problem solve with their peers as they're able to read their peers' works, able to contribute, like, add ideas to it. So it allows them to constantly keep working. In this digital age, many employers look for employees that are able to navigate this digital world. Now, labs and STEM challenges are very straightforward and they're already embedded with 21st century skills. There's going to be data collection and analysis of the data and effectively communicate their results. They might even be asked to come up with creative solutions to problems that are presented. Naturally, in a science lab, many students are already working in small groups, so they're collaborating with one another. Then finally, there's going to be like short, specific quizzes. Students can identify content, but also correct incorrect statements. One of my favorite activities is to have students correct the statement that I write for them, that I know is incorrect, that they know is incorrect, and they have to go ahead and defend the corrections. Again, effective communication, problem solving. Sometimes I will even have students work in groups if the problem is a little bit more complex. But as we move into the summative assessments, something that's going to be given at the end of the units, I would recommend including authentic real-world assessments. Problem-based scenarios, for example, as students engage in fictional hypothetical scenarios to demonstrate skill and content. My unit on the human body systems has the teachers identifying that they are a patient. These are their conditions, and the students must research based on their knowledge of the human body systems to go ahead and diagnose me with whatever they think it is. There is no right or wrong answer. It really comes down to students' ability to identify what the problem is and support based on evidence what they believe it is. One reason why I thoroughly love and enjoy authentic real-world assessments is that it brings that practical experience. Is everyone going to be a doctor? No. But everyone can see how the content can be applied. But again, with the content, the underlying theme is developing these skills. There's also project-based learning where the students will collaborate with one another to design and market a new type of bike helmet to keep kids safe from concussions while riding their bikes. This is laid in with 21st century as they have to collaborate, think critically, become creative, and communicate their ideas. Finally, 21st century skills prepare students beyond the walls. They will be ready and prepared to handle whatever their next challenges are. Again, this particular curriculum is for middle school, but the 21st century skill curriculums should be preparing students beyond their grade. They should be preparing them for the next level and the levels after that. Again, university applied skills provide preparation for future endeavors, whether that's higher education, vocational trade school, or even post-secondary work. Higher education currently looks for students who are mastering the 21st century skills as they understand that future employers are looking for these skills. Research has indicated that employers are looking for students or new employees that are efficient in communication, collaboration, and critical thinking. By mastering these skills, students are more prepared for the real world. And students should be exposed to these ideas before they start getting into high school and college. Students will also be developing an application of different tech skills. Again, everywhere we turn, the world is constantly changing as we are seeing more virtual and digital work being done. New apps are being created, and future employees need to be able to navigate these worlds. And finally, it's just being prepared to adjust and adapt to an ever-changing world. If they have 21st century skills, if they have these skills, students are going to be more prepared for the changing world because they have the confidence They may not have the answer right there, but they'll know how to create a solution and effectively communicate. They'll be able to work with their peers, and they will be able to come up with solutions. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Again, my 21st Century Skills curriculum is embedded with research, and I hope that you decide to use 21st century skills in your curriculum.